Welcome back, campers.
That was your host, Genevieve.
That was your host, Caitlin. And you have arrived at episode 86 of Camping is Canceled. Whoop. I had a story that I was going to tell you at the top of this, but I can never decide if we're going to be one of those podcasts that's like doing the talking thing at the beginning or if we're just launching right into the story, because I know some people like it and other people don't like it, but
it's our podcast.
It is our podcast. I don't know. Who cares what people want? We can say what we want.
I listen to both, where some podcasts do and some don't, and I like both. So
yeah, I think you can have a good mix of both as long as you're not talking for like 10 straight minutes. Now I've decided I am going to briefly share this story, which will not take a long time, but I needed to share it because I've never before in my life had so much adrenaline course through my body related to something that I thought was a true crime event. And if I need to know if this has ever happened to you. So I'm rewatching Euphoria for like the third time. I fall asleep with it playing in my earphones. And I was like so tired, I didn't realize that when you are like in that weird sleeping and like awake state where you're not aware, but you're kind of like dreaming. I don't know. It's or
like if somebody's walking around the room, like in your head, you see like the noise is there, but it's it's like a T-Rex in your head.
Or it like becomes incorporated into your dream somehow. So that plus the fact that I have been way in over my head on BTK info for the last 3 weeks.
And if anybody wanted to know, Jen has miniature cutouts.
I do.
That we will be implementing at some point.
Yes.
Jen has gone hardcore into this.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm ever going to fully come back, but I fell asleep. Euphoria is playing in my ear. And I wake up to the sound of a man's voice in my ear going, "Get up and do what I say." Caitlin, when I say that my soul, it was literally the moment from Harry Potter where Harry's soul, or not Harry, sorry, is Sirius Black, and the little ball of light is floating up. That was me. I had so much adrenaline all of a sudden because my brain went, this is it. Someone is here, and all of the things that you have like talked about and, criticized about and shit talked about, like, now this is you. That is what my brain went through in like the span of 3 seconds. And then I slowly became awake and then realized I'm laying there with Euphoria playing, my phone's like on my face and my headphones are in. But it took me a good half an hour for my heart rate to go back down. That was the scariest way I have ever woken up in my entire life. And I just want to say, if that's ever happened to you, I am so sorry. The adrenaline and the fear were so real.
That was this past year at my cousin's wedding in Tennessee. We were in a hotel, and Charlie's in bed with me. Cam's in bed with Jacob, because we had separate beds so the kids weren't, rolling on each other. Anyway,
yes, been there.
And, I was drunk off my ass. And I fell asleep and whatnot. And at, 6 a.m., the fire alarm blared. And I had my earplugs in. I rolled out of bed, stood up, grabbed Charlie in a heartbeat. And, I was like, Jacob! And then I calmed down, and he's like, it's just the fire alarm. It's just the fire alarm.
But you were ready.
Bitch, I was ready.
Yeah.
And
Jacob.
I was up. I was sober.
Anything that was lingering was gone. Yeah.
I was probably having a great dream, too.
You were maybe dreaming about, what's his face?
Jensen.
Apples. Well, I hope he comes to you tonight without a fire alarm interrupting it.
He could be a firefighter.
There you go. Have you ever had it where you can control what's happening in your dream? Where you're aware that you're dreaming and you could be like, wait, I'm dreaming. I can manipulate this. And be like, I want to fly. And then you jump up and fly.
That's really rare for me.
Okay.
Because again, my dreams are genuinely a different universe.
Oh, yeah, alternate reality.
It's like when I go to sleep, I wake up in a different place, if that makes sense. But I do envy the people that can manipulate their dreams.
It's rare that it happens to me, but when it does, I'm always like, man, that was a fun dream. And it never lasts. I always like feel myself fading out of it. I'm like, no.
Come back.
No, come back, Jake Gyllenhaal. Come back.
Oh my gosh. You know what? After last week's episode,
we needed that.
We did. And before we segue into this,
things are going to get bad again.
Needed some laughs. We needed some lightheartedness.
Because now we got to talk about Dennis.
The piece of shit of the week.
The piece of shit of the week. And obviously, if you haven't, don't start here. Go back and start with episode 85. That is part 1 of what's definitely going to be our 3-part series on Dennis Rader, the BTK killer. It was 1974 when we last left you, and Wichita police were stumped as to who could have possibly wanted to murder 2 children and their parents in broad daylight while they ate breakfast. And we do have to say that Wichita police really left no possible stone unturned. They examined if the killer could have been someone in the Otero's family, but no, that was quickly ruled out. A burglary gone wrong. They knew that was highly unlikely given the horrific way that everyone was tied up, tortured, and, all that was missing from the house was Joe Otero's watch, a small radio, and their car keys because, remember, Dennis stole their car. They even looked into Julie's coworkers from where she'd been previously employed at the Colman factory, and this was something that they thought maybe would have legs because her supervisor, just a few days before the Otero's attack, had been shot and wounded. And, that just doesn't happen. So they thought there might be something there, but no, it ended up being a bizarre coincidence. And then, lastly, I think this one is personally a little racist, but they were just like, well, Joe Otero is Puerto Rican. Maybe he was somehow involved in drugs. And so they went on a wild goose chase to Panama and Puerto Rico to see if any contacts that he had there when he was a private pilot could have been connected to the cartel, but this went nowhere. Racist or not, they truly left no stone unturned. No racist stone unturned. God. But I guess at that point, you're literally grasping at nothing because they had no fingerprints. They had
this is a horrific crime scene that just popped out of nowhere.
Yeah. And to their credit, cartels can be fucking brutal.
Yeah. And he's military, so, and they came from there. And, I do get, I'd rather the police overdo their job than under.
Yeah.
So.
That's fair. Yeah, I don't want to give them too much crap because they were genuinely trying. And also, again, we're looking at this with our eagle eye vision, but at the time, there had only been this one isolated incident, and there wasn't even really, the FBI was just beginning to identify and talk about serial killers and the, not pseudoscience, but, psychoanalytical science of the serial killer. So this wasn't even presented as an option yet. And really, they just had nothing other than that little test tube of, semen that was in a lab. And that was it. So in a matter of days, every possible direction that the Otero murders could be taken in was exhausted. And the terror of a murderer being on the loose had Wichita residents ramping up their home security. Tons of those little blue signs that said, "Secured by ADT," began popping up in yards all over neighborhoods, many of which were installed by Dennis Rader himself. Dennis had just started a job as a security systems installer for ADT. Isn't it ironic?
Good Lord.
Oh, God.
Holy cow.
Oh, Alanis Morissette, don't sue us, but this would be a perfect moment to play. It's like rain on your wedding day. It's like Dennis Rader. It's like home security. Oh, God. I'm sorry. Cue the uncomfortable laughter because this is so fucking terrible.
Gosh.
It was so terrible that the homicide captain of Wichita actually began sleeping by his front door. If that doesn't, like, freak you out that the homicide captain was so freaked out he's sleeping by his front door, I don't know what will. And then another detective actually broke his own rule to never speak with his own children about the cases that he worked. And he told his 13-year-old daughter about what had happened to the Oteros so that she could be on high alert.
And I'm sure also, like, social media obviously wasn't a thing back then. So I would rather my teenager be formally informed versus, like, rumors and, like, fear-mongering, although this definitely warrants fear-mongering.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I would have done the same thing. So this part 2 today might be a slightly shorter episode, thanks to me getting through life as a stay-at-home mom with 3 children, but that's okay, because if you're here, you're here. We're going to talk about true crime, and we're going to say fuck Dennis a lot. Lights out, campers.
Oh man, the mountains called my number one. I'm just a life-size lottery ticket in the hand of the one.
Meanwhile, for days, Dennis Rader was convinced that any moment his front door was about to be kicked down.
Oh, I wonder why.
So yeah, if you guys remember the absolute shit show that he ran, and somehow he successfully ran it.
Yeah. It's like he fantasizes about the Oteros. Like he fantasized intensely about what he wanted to do. And so in his mind, things went seamlessly.
Right.
But then he didn't actually plan well. So when he got there, things just played out in a way that at any moment they could have gone horribly wrong. So like the dog, Lucky being there.
Immediately.
Yes. He left the knife and he had to go back and get it. And somehow he didn't get caught.
That's like the dad is there.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Joe
not
being
planned.
home. And the fact that he, again, got lucky because Joe was injured. Also, I learned this. I didn't even know this when we recorded part 1, but the Otero's car was on E when he got into it to drive it to the grocery store. So he essentially just coasted on fumes in there. And all it would have taken is for it to have died. And then he almost crashed into somebody reversing out of the driveway. So he is one just lucky fucking son of a gun. Truly. But because he's also Delulu, he's like, oh, you know, like, I'm actually good at this.
Like, yeah. He's like, but he also is nervous at something. Like, the cops are going to find him.
Yeah, yeah.
And
at least he's self-aware. At least he's
little.
Self-aware. To a point.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
And, I mean, we're going to do 3 parts of this this case.
Yeah.
So, clearly, the police did not come.
Yeah. And we're in 1974.
Yeah.
So if any of this had happened, I think even 10 years later, the chances would have been even slimmer of him having gotten away with it. But he did it in, I hate to say, the golden age of the serial killer, where it was like they all kind of at the same time were collectively coming off of their fucked up World War II PTSD, daddy trauma, and eating lead paint and being dropped on their heads and having
a lot of head trauma,
a lot of alcoholic parents, a lot of fetal alcohol syndrome, a lot of neglect.
Can I just say, and I think I've said it before, I'm time stupid, but I'm genuinely like, it never occurred to me that in the 70s they had home security. Like, to me, for whatever reason, that's like a 21st century thing.
It would have been a lot more rudimentary. So it
Yeah.
would have been like magnetic and electric, like tripped wires and sensors. It would
That
be,
still like is weird to me for
Yeah.
whatever reason.
it would be more like let's say someone broke into your home
Yeah.
and there would be something that was like a magnet or like an electrical thing that would be tripped, and then it would notify because they had landlines at that time. It would notify
That's
the
true.
security system company. So it still was much slower. It was a lot less efficient, but it was kind of like the beginning of all of that being like, oh, there can be an eye in the sky that's looking out for you. And it was like revolutionary. So
I don't know why. That's just so weird.
I agree that I would
Or-
never have guessed it started that early.
Even in the first episode, Dennis asked Josie, like, does your dad have a camera in here? And I was just like,
Oh,
a camera in 1974? Huh. Genevieve, I'm telling you, I am time stupid.
well, that's okay. And I'm going to hold your hand when I tell you that there were cameras in the 1800s.
Genevieve, that doesn't make sense to me.
That's okay. Well, you may be time stupid, but I also have my moments of that because when I heard that, my brain went, oh, he's asking if there was a security camera in the home. But then, no, it was, he wanted to take
Like a
pictures.
camera?
Yeah, he wanted to take pictures of her because he's a fucked up
Bring your own
piece of
fucking
shit.
camera.
Yeah, that blows up in your face.
That you take to Walgreens and turn yourself in immediately.
Oh my God.
Because you're stupid.
Yes.
So yeah, again, the
Dennis-
police never came. And headlines about the Otero murders became fewer and fewer. And Dennis allowed himself to relax back into his routines. He and Paula went to church with their parents.
Gag.
We just need a little whiteboard with check marks for killers. Church, check. Boy Scout leader, check.
I feel so sick saying this because I grew up as deeply enmeshed in the church as you could be, and there were so many wonderful people in my life.
And there are.
But on the fringes, not like I think because of the wonderful parents I had in the circle that I had, that I really was with safe people. But on the fringes, in the circles that we moved in, there were people who were there to take advantage of people who were vulnerable or who hid in plain sight. And it's sickening
Yeah.
that the church attracts
That paints the picture of, like, inclusivity, like, community.
and unconditional love
Yeah.
and grace and trust, being able to like have faith in a community, and then people
Yeah.
are like, oh, well, I'm either going to take advantage of that or I'm going to use it as my shield because no one will question my character if I have this image. And I think that's very much Dennis's mindset.
And so it's ironic again. He's going to church with his wife and their parents.
And literally their parents. Yeah.
And, guys, to further that narrative, Dennis also helped with the youth group.
Yay.
And his job with ADT was going really well, so he decided to go back to school part-time at Wichita State University to study a passion of his. Dramatic pause. Administration of Justice.
This is like a South Park episode.
It's just like, you want to laugh because it's just so
Ridiculous.
It's just, how can this be facts? How can this not be
Yes.
a narrative? Like,
But it also tracks with what we end up learning because of his case and others in this decade largely, is that there is an obsession with wanting to be near to law enforcement in some capacity. And a lot of times it's because they weren't smart enough to be one themselves.
Right.
They were rejected for reasons like Ed Kemper.
Too tall.
I believe that John Wayne Gacy was also friends with law enforcement, but it's just that kind of like, I think there's also an appeal in being so close, but knowing that you're so deviant.
Oh, yeah.
And the pride in keeping that hidden. And
like almost a high for them.
Yes. And so now, thanks to all of this, I'm always extremely wary of people that are not in law enforcement themselves, but are the ones who are, giving them big checks or doing the nonprofits like in Breaking Bad. Gus Frank, he's super tight with the DEA. The bitch was running the biggest cartel ring out of his...
He had a beautiful establishment of the Loco Polo.
He really did.
Was it Loco Polo? Or was it just Polo? Polo Loco? What was it?
We gotta look it up. I don't know what it is. Canceling ourselves.
You guys know what we're talking about. I'm just leaving it at that.
Oh my
Just
god.
leaving it at that. Okay.
Be wary of people who are friends with good people. That's all we're saying. Here we go.
Okay, guys. Dennis liked how well his new watch kept the time so that he was never late to class.
Oh, that one he took from Joe Otero.
Yes.
The first fuck you Dennis of the day.
Yes. Thank you. Unfortunately, those professors at WSU liked to assign tons of homework, which meant he was also spending a lot more time working in his study when he was at home. At least that's what he told his wife, Paula. In actuality, he was typing out an extremely detailed account of the Otero attack while everything was fresh in his mind and signing it BTK, which, as you already know, stands for Bind, Torture, Kill. He filed this away in a binder along with other writings about what he called Factor X and the Monster Within. And those were the names he gave to what he felt was the force inside him that was driving him to kill. And he also liked to write about Sparky. No!
Sorry,
Genevieve.
I'm sorry.
I'm immediately seeing our husband's childhood dog, Sparky. And you're telling me
I'm sorry.
that Sparky is what he called his penis?
Yeah.
No.
It gets worse.
Shut up. Oh my god.
The only reason why we're having to talk about this is because we need to highlight the patheticness and the ridiculousness here. So.
And Sparky Big Time is what he called using it. It just sounds so immature almost.
Thank you. That is the thing that I over and over recurring with him. It is like we all know from all the shit we watch on TikTok and the podcast about the narcissistic man babies who never grow up. And he is that, but times 10.
Yeah, and I'm not saying the naming your penis or naming a body part something.
Yeah.
But it's
there's
Sparky and then Sparky Big Time.
Yeah, there's a level of just juvenile underdevelopedness to it that is weird. It's like he never clicked out of not only just the first layer of that adolescent sex stuff, but then he has that layer of sadism and evil to it, and then combined it's just weird as fuck. But yet he's living this normal life where he's going to church and being a youth leader and holding the door open for his wife and has a kid now,
going to college part-time,
going to
working
college.
a job.
Yeah, it's so bizarre. It's bizarre.
So to Paula, his wife, sincere condolences. Because I can't even imagine.
From the bottom of my heart. I know she's still living, and after all this came out, she basically just went underground.
As she deserves to have peace and...
So I know she will not ever hear us say this, nor would I want her to have to hear all of this, but in spirit...
We're sending it into the
it.
universe.
We are.
And Dennis also obsessively studied crime novels, detective magazines, and his good old bondage pornography while he wore a pair of handcuffs and did gross stuff.
Which we won't go into because we've already said enough gross things.
I think you guys can paint your own picture.
Yeah.
Less than a month after Dennis killed 4 members of the Otero family, he was out trolling for his next victim. He would keep track of multiple women at once, following them home in his car, peering in their windows. That's juvenile to me.
Yes. I feel wrong saying it's like teenager behavior because I don't want to make it seem like he doesn't have his own agency, you know? But what I mean is like there's the lack of critical thinking and like
exactly.
layered thinking. It's like he's just acting out of some sort of animal impulse.
Yeah.
And it's weird.
And with that, he was also taking extensive notes on everything he learned. He journaled that he saw himself as a quote-unquote super spy.
Not helping the juvenile shit.
And the women he took notes on were all on his quote-unquote hit list.
Ugh.
One by one, he'd eliminate them if he learned something that might overly complicate an attack. Like they owned a big dog or had a boyfriend who stayed over.
Gosh.
I love my little miniature schnauzer that my parents own, but big dogs for the win.
Poppy, we love you, but
You know what? She would bite the shit out of somebody's ankle.
she would.
She would.
She would. It might be the person who loves her most in the world on accident, but her heart would be in the right place. So then, on an afternoon in March, Dennis was taking Paula out to get some lunch when they passed a tidy little house on 3217 East 13th Street. A young woman with blonde hair and a jean jacket was taking her mail out of the box when Dennis spotted her. And for the rest of the day, the young blonde woman and the plan forming in his mind was all Dennis could think about. He didn't know that her name was Kathy Bright, or that she was just 21 years old and had moved to Wichita so she could be closer to her family. And it wouldn't have mattered if he did. Kathy wasn't a person to Dennis. She was literally a project. So we're gonna talk about Kathy because fuck Dennis. Kathy was one of 5 siblings, and she spent a lot of her time growing up on her grandparents' farm. And she especially loved their donkey named Candy. Kathy and Candy would go all over the farm together while Candy pulled a little cart for Kathy to put things in that she found. She also learned to play the ukulele when she was just 9, and she had a beautiful singing voice that she used in a trio at her church with her sister and cousin. At 21, she'd just finished her first semester at Kansas State University. But she hated being so far away from her siblings and cousins. So she and her sister, Karen, decided to get jobs together at the Colman factory, and they made enough to rent their own little house. They were feeling excited about their futures and had their whole lives ahead of them, which, Caitlin, it makes it all the more infuriating to me that in this moment, it doesn't matter where a victim is when they become a victim, but she could not have been minding her own goddamn business more when Dennis Rader first landed his beady little fucking eyes on her. She was taking her mail out of her mailbox.
I'm not saying murder is good by any means, but like, even when people are like hunting deer, they're like, that's a big buck. Like, that's going to provide me a lot of meat. That's going to look good on my wall. Like, there's a fucking reason, though. Like, you're not just out, like you're not a psychopath like he is. Just, like, even a human, though, like, I'm not saying
no
kill.
logical human justification. Like, when we talk about people who get murdered by other people, like, I'm sorry, but let's say horrible, sadistic pedophiles who get murdered in prison, we're like, well,
There's a reason.
The act of murder is wrong, but... you know, like...
Or like, somebody ran over my kid. I got mad. Shot them. There's a reason.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's a good reason, but there's a reason.
Literally a 21-year-old woman living with her sister, paying her bills, minding her fucking business.
She just stepped outside at the wrong time.
Literally. And this is why there are stories where I am like, how can I not believe that there's a loving God who is intimately orchestrating everything? Sometimes
Evil?
I hear those stories and I'm like, I'm a horrible person if I think anything else. And then I hear stories like this and I'm like, there is nothing. Because all it is people being caught in the fucking crosshairs.
At the end of the day, people have free will, and
yeah,
it's disgusting what some people do with it.
yeah. And so, like, I know in my heart at the end of the day, I don't believe that because otherwise, what is the point?
Yeah.
But hearing things like this
yeah.
makes me so hot with rage because it's so pointless. It's so pointless.
Yep. Yep.
Cut the rant for now. But later that very same day, Dennis drove back to the house on 13th Street after he took his wife out to lunch. He noticed that it was situated beside an empty lot on one side and a house that appeared to be abandoned on the other, which, so far as he's been, stalking women, that was the most ideal location he'd come across because it was isolated and there were no neighbors close by. So, suddenly, he found himself doing something he'd not done before. On a whim, he parked a few blocks away, tucked a knife into his pocket and a small pistol in his belt, and walked straight to the front door of Kathy and Karen's house. He pounded the door with his fist, but no one answered. So, he turned around, got in his car, and drove home. For the next few weeks, while he kept his normal schedule, he fantasized intently on a plan to attack Kathy, which he called, again, so sorry, Project Lights Out.
We need a new intro.
God,
I can't say anymore.
I was so mad when I read that. Is this the moment at episode 85 where we change our tag? Caitlin.
Let me think.
Please drop in the comments suggestions of our new sign-off because fuck.
Yeah.
Whenever Dennis was reading or watching TV with Paula, he squeezed a rubber ball over and over so that his hands would be much stronger than they'd had when he'd attacked the Oteros. So much of this information we have because of the extensive journals that he wrote and the interviews that he did when he was in prison, but this man literally was disappointed that he wasn't able to enjoy choking the life out of 2 children and their parents because he was so weak that his hands went numb. So he was like, you know what? Like a normal person would be doing Pilates or whatever. But no, Dennis is probably watching fucking Jeopardy with Paula and he's sitting there.
Don't you ruin Jeopardy for me.
Sorry.
Take it back.
I don't know when Jeopardy started. Probably later than this. But he's sitting there doing hand exercises. And he's probably giving her some bullshit reasoning like, oh, I just want to make sure I keep my hands strong as I'm getting older, like, for whatever. And she's like, oh yeah, look at him taking care of himself. No, he just wants to be able to enjoy strangling people without his hands hurting. So, on the morning of April 4th, Dennis sat in class at Wichita State University taking notes along with everyone else, but unlike the rest of them, he was drenched head to toe in sweat and was so on edge that the sound of the professor's chalk on the board was practically unbearable to him. After class, he drove straight to Kathy Bright's neighborhood. He saw her green Pinto was parked in the driveway, which he figured meant she was home because that's what it meant when he'd been stalking her for the last few weeks. So he parked several blocks away and walked towards the house in a meandering fashion, like he was just out to get some fresh air. Before he left his car, he tucked an array of ropes, cords, gags, a large knife, wire cutters, and 2 pistols into his heavy green ski jacket. God damn, that's a lot of shit.
Good lord. So much for hand exercises and 2 fucking pistols.
Truly. So he pounded on the front door, and when she opened it, or so he'd planned it in his mind, He was going to say he was a WSU student, and would she mind if he came in for a few minutes to study before a test?
Bitch. Even in the 70s, I think a woman would say no to that. Like, no.
Just another layer of his delulu, and we don't need to tell y'all, don't ever let a man in your house.
Or a
honestly,
woman. Like, anybody you do not know.
Honestly, though, yeah, only let dogs into your house.
Yes.
As soon as he was inside, he would pull out the gun, and everything would go exactly how he'd been imagining. But when he knocked on the door, there was no answer. This was weird, but he didn't leave. At this point, he's done so much fantasizing and got himself so worked up that I think before maybe this would have deterred him, but now
this is almost like OCD obsession, of having physical reactions to it.
Yes. So he walked around to the back of the house, cut the phone line, and hit the window with his cutting shears so he could let himself in. Glass shattered everywhere, and he panicked because he realized that if she came to the back door first and saw the mess, she probably wouldn't even go in the house. I mean, I know I wouldn't. I'd be like, oh shit, somebody broke in and they might still be in there. So he frantically swept it up as best he could, then hurried to one of the back bedrooms to hide. He pulled the revolver out of his pocket and went to click off the safety. And if I laugh right now, I am so sorry. This bitch did not click off the safety properly, and the gun fired.
Too bad he wasn't, staring down the barrel with mouth wide open.
Too bad he wasn't being like, is this thing loaded?
God. What an idiot. I mean, I love it, though. I love that he just continues to show how stupid he is.
And I hope that he shit himself. Other than a horrific bang, though, that made Dennis nearly jump out of his skin, nothing happened.
Again, it's like the universe is trying to trip him up.
Truly, yeah. But because...
he's a fucking cockroach.
I know. He truly is. Yeah. Literally nothing has gone according to his plan so far. Literally nothing. She wasn't home. He broke in the back, made a huge mess, was like, fuck. While he was cleaning up the mess, who knows how long that took. Then he hid in the back room and nearly blew his head off with his own gun. God.
I really hope in a different reality or universe, whatever.
In a different reality, he's just blowing his head off over and over.
His sperm was just obliterated. Actually, I just hope his dad shot his sperm into the drain.
In a different reality, his dad didn't get shore leave.
Yes.
And he was never conceived.
Damn. Yes.
Yes.
It was a different seaman.
Mm-hmm.
That was a little pun.
A different seaman.
I'm sorry.
No,
I'm sorry.
In a different seaman, Dennis's would-be daddy just didn't go home, and his mom just got knocked up by the air conditioner man or something.
Effect.
Yeah. Oh. Truly.
So, after shooting the gun...
after he didn't kill himself, unfortunately.
He slowly walked from room to room, peeking in drawers and closets, looking for something he could use to tie her up. He didn't bring his white nylon cords this time. He didn't want the seam to feel too similar to the Otero murders. And he just shocks us with reasoning.
Yeah, occasionally having a spark of, thinking.
Don't say spark.
No!
Get that name out your mouth.
Occasionally having a flicker.
There we go. I'll take that.
Okay.
He was pretty sure there were 2 women who lived there, and even though it was Kathy he was fixated on, he had no issue with attacking them both. All of a sudden, Dennis heard the sound of a car door slamming. His heart raced again because he still hadn't found anything to use as a restraint. But he jumped behind the front door. He heard a man's voice and felt another surge of panic because this was also not part of his plan. He'd taken care to make sure Kathy was a woman without a man. Well, Kathy did have a man who cared very much about her, and that man was her brother, 19-year-old Kevin.
Kevin is a baby.
No.
They're
I just
both
see Kevin
babies.
from Up.
Oh my God,
And
no.
it just makes me...
But look, they're both babies, 19 and 21.
Gosh.
I can say this now because I'm confident in my age, but like Kathy is more than a decade younger than me. And I'm just like, you truly have not even begun to live your life at 19, at 21.
Nope.
To me, truly, like, you don't even begin to understand who you are until you hit 30 and really be like comfortable and confident in yourself.
Yeah.
They are babies and they're opening a door to the worst day of their lives.
Kevin had just come into town so Kathy could go with him to apply for a business loan, and they were planning to hang out at the house and wait for Karen to get off work.
Caitlin, Kevin had come up with some kind of invention
Aww.
that he was wanting to get a business loan for. And so Kathy was gonna go with him so he could try to get the loan.
The siblings were stunned when no sooner had they stepped inside the front door than they heard a man's voice say, "Stop. Hold it right there." At this point, the front door was wide open, and Dennis realized all they had to do is turn and run screaming down the road, and it would all be over. But incredibly, probably because they were frozen in horror, neither Kevin or Kathy moved.
Flight, fright, or freeze.
Yeah.
Yep.
We all like to imagine what we would do, and
I think everyone likes to think that they would be fight and that they
Yeah.
would turn into a fucking badass. But I honestly believe that freeze is what 99% of us would do because your nervous system
Or-
is so overrun. When I had that dream,
yeah.
or when I was woken up by, I literally, it was like I was paralyzed. And it wasn't a real scenario, but my brain thought it was.
Or I think at the very least, freeze is the first step.
Yes.
And then it's
Yes.
flight or fright. So,
And you have no control based on your brain chemistry, how long it's going to keep you in freeze.
Yeah.
So they may have wanted to move. Like Kevin or Kathy could have been internally screaming like, move, scream, do something. But we just don't know.
Like he had done with Otero's, Dennis launched into a bogus story about he was a wanted felon on the run and he just needed clothes, money, and food, and he'd be on his way. He convinced them that he would just be tying them up as a precaution and that he had no desire to hurt them. He's a nice guy. Remember?
Yeah, he's so nice. Yeah. Get you a drink of water right before he strangles you to death.
Oh, I hate to even think of what it's like as he's saying that run. Don't follow him. Don't follow him. But again, I'm not them. We weren't there.
What sucks is that I feel like in the true crime space, we're not allowed to have these kind of conversations because then we get blasted for victim blaming. When in reality, what this is like we've said before, two things can be true at once. Kevin and Kathy have no responsibility in the fact that an evil person broke into their home and assaulted them and controlled them. That is not on them ever, period,
No.
paragraph, end of story. But because we have access to this information, we can hear it, we can process it, and we can use it to educate ourselves and remember these moments. And God forbid if my children, if the people I love ever find themselves, if you, and I say the people I love, the people listening to us ramble, find yourself in this situation, do not hesitate. This is not coming from me. This is coming from people who are far smarter than myself, who say, if a person has a gun in your face, a knife in your face, it does not matter. You scream, you run, you fight, you do whatever you have to do, even if you don't get away, because the fighting will leave them with their DNA on your body. And in this day and age, they will catch that motherfucker. And your chances of getting away are so much higher. We're not done with this story. Even if you get shot, your chances of living are so much higher than if you comply. Never trust a perpetrator. If they say, I want money and I'll leave you alone, do not believe them.
So, Dennis thinks he's a nice guy. No one else in the world does.
Right.
He marched both Kathy and Kevin to Kathy's bedroom and ordered her to find something Kevin could tie her up with. And then he made Kevin tie his own sister's hands behind her back. Dennis used Kathy's bandanas and belts to tie Kevin's hands behind his back and his feet to the bedpost. He asked Kevin for all the money he had and... exactly. And Kevin told him there was $3 in his shirt pocket. Have fun with it. He didn't tell him about the $8 in the wallet in his back pocket because...
Fuck you, Dennis. Look at that. Look at Kevin. He is not complying. He's like, bitch, you ain't taking my money.
Once Dennis was satisfied that Kevin was restrained, he marched Kathy to a different room, had her sit in a chair, and tightly bound her to it with her own nylon stockings. Then he made a big show of rummaging through the whole house and calling out that he'd found the money. He wanted them to think he was actually there to do what he said. Next, he got out of Kathy where she kept her car keys. The next thing he did was what made the realization hit that Dennis had zero intention of letting Kathy or Kevin live.
Okay, guys. So this next bit, we're going to be heavily relying on the amazing book Bind, Torture, Kill, The Inside Story of BTK, the Serial Killer Next Door, that was written by a slew of journalists who closely were involved in covering this case for many, many years, and they wrote an absolutely fantastic book that I highly recommend if you want to deep dive even further than we have, but...
No, thank you.
Yeah, here we go. So at this point, Dennis decided that he was going to put on music on the radio. He knew that from, I'm so sorry, what he called Project Little Mex, which is what he called the Otero family murders. Yeah. That what he planned to do to Kevin and Kathy would cause sounds. I mean, there's sounds when you strangle people, so he wanted to kill them in separate bedrooms and have them not freak out. He didn't want one of them to hear gagging noises and start thrashing, so he decided to kill Kevin first to put down what he considered to be the bigger threat, which is what he did first because he killed Joe Otero first.
Mm-hmm.
So he went into the room where Kevin was tied, hands and feet, to the bedpost, put a nylon, one of Kevin's sister's own nylon stockings, around his throat, and started to strangle him. And that is when Kevin decided, not today, you motherfucker. He broke his leg bindings, leapt up, and charged at Dennis Rader with his hands still tied behind his back. Kevin, you are a fucking badass. Dennis Rader pulled out his .22 and shot Kevin Bright in the face.
Ugh.
In this moment, Kevin fell, blood was pouring all over the floor, and Dennis Rader was like, all right, took care of one, now I'm good, on to the next. So he ran to the room where Kathy was tied up, who at this point was screaming and fighting as hard as she could. And she was screaming, "What have you done to my brother?" Dennis Rader, now he's trying to get control of the situation. He said, "Oh, he was trying to fight, so I had to shoot him, but I think he'll be all right." Basically being like, he didn't comply with me, so I had to, but if you keep doing what I want, I won't have to shoot you. When I get out of here, this is what he tells Kathy. When I get out, I promise I'll call the police and I'll tell them to come untie both of you. Kathy is like, oh, fuck no at this point. So she is still violently struggling. Dennis runs back to the other bedroom and he kicked Kevin to make sure, according to him, that he was dead. But Kevin fucking wasn't. He leapt up, charged at Dennis again, broke the bindings on his wrist, and grabbed at Dennis's gun, just lunged for it. And in this moment, Dennis Rader actually thought it was all over and he was going to die because, Caitlin, Kevin Bright got his hand on the trigger of that gun.
Gosh.
He grabbed the trigger, wrenched it into Dennis's chest, and tried to pull it. But Dennis, at the last second, shoved his finger down into the gun. Kevin pulled the trigger, click, and it jammed. The hammer, I think that's what it is. The hammer just jammed on Dennis's finger, and the gun did not fire. Kevin and Dennis are fighting over this gun even after he pulled the trigger and Dennis caught the hammer. They fight until Dennis yanks the gun out of Kevin's hand, puts it in his face, and shoots it again. Kevin is shot in the face again and drops to the ground. So Dennis runs back to Kathy. Kathy, at this point, is flailing. Like, she is so close to being free. So close. But Dennis grabs a piece of Kathy's own clothing, looped it around her throat, and started pulling. He almost had her unconscious, but then she broke free from the motherfucking chair and continued fighting. So both of them are fighting for their life. Dennis is terrified. I do not know why he did not leave. I think it's because at this point he knows he's in so deep. They have seen him.
Yeah.
It's too late. And he just kind of goes into an animalistic state. So Kathy has broken free from the chair. He believes that he has killed Kevin. He shot him twice in the head. So now he began to punch Kathy. He punched her in the face, the head, the shoulders. She still fought. And while he is doing this, he is panicking that someone had to have heard the multiple gunshots.
Mm-hmm.
Dennis then pulls out his knife because Kathy is not slowing down. She is fighting like a motherfucking badass as he's punching her. He pulled out a knife and he stabbed her in the back 3 times, spun her around, stabbed her in the stomach, and she was still fighting. They fought all over the bedroom, and he stabbed her repeatedly in the stomach, in the back. In total, he stabbed her a total of 11 times before she stopped fighting so hard that he thought she was actually going to beat him. And the only reason he stopped stabbing her is because he heard a sound from the other room. He had not killed Kevin. So he ran back to where he thought Kevin was dead, but he was gone. Then he ran to the front door of the house. It was open. Kevin was nowhere to be found. Dennis has blood covering him, soaking down into his shoes. Is literally gushing out of his shoes as he steps because there's so much blood. He sees down the street. He looks out the door. He sees Kevin running down the street. And he goes, fuck. Like, I'm fucking fried. So he goes back. He looks at Kathy. He doesn't think he needs to do anything else. So he leaves.
At around 12:30 in the afternoon that same day, a Wichita man was out driving along 13th Street when he encountered a scene straight from a horror movie. Just up ahead, he saw a lone young man burst out the front door of a small white house and stagger down the snowy street, absolutely covered head to toe in blood. The man began screaming and waving his arms as soon as he saw the car, and without hesitating, the driver slammed on his brakes. There was so much blood, it was hard to tell where it was all coming from. But one thing was certain. The young man had been shot directly in the face. He was frantic and disoriented, but the driver acted quickly. He shoved the young man into the front seat of his car, then sprinted across the street to a nearby auto body shop and yelled to the owner to call the cops, then leapt back in his car and floored it to the closest hospital. God forbid anything bad happens to any of my loved ones or myself. Pray to God, like a replica of this man is there at that exact moment.
Honestly.
Because A+.
Yeah. To stop when you see someone head to toe covered in blood.
He went over, he did the first thing of pointing at somebody saying, "You call the police." Mm-hmm. And then he got back in and took him to the hospital. Stunning.
In 1974.
Beautiful.
Bro probably saved countless lives in World War II, just gonna say.
And with that beautiful, quick thinking action, the man certainly saved the life of 19-year-old Kevin that day. Within just 3 minutes, a patrol officer named Raymond Fletcher approached the open front door of 3217 East 13th Street North with his gun drawn. No sooner did Raymond step through the doorway than he saw Kathy lying motionless on the floor in a large pool of blood. She was curled on her side with a bloody telephone off the hook beside her. Officer Fletcher thought an assailant could still be hiding somewhere in the house, so he kept his gun raised and yelled out, "Police!" Suddenly, Kathy gasped out in a very raspy voice, "Help me. I can't breathe." Fletcher radioed for an ambulance and knelt in the blood beside her. He could see she was fighting to keep her eyelids open, and her breathing was starting to become very shallow. She was dying. Fletcher kept his gun ready in one hand, and with the other, he stroked the young woman's hair to comfort her. He asked if she knew who did this to her, but all she could do was shake her head no. 21-year-old Kathy Bright lost consciousness with Officer Fletcher beside her, telling her that help was on the way. Kathy died on the operating table 5 hours later. Incredibly, thanks to the quick actions of the Good Samaritan who had picked up Kevin, he came through surgery alive after being shot in the head twice. As soon as Kevin regained consciousness, he tried to leap out of his hospital bed and was insistent to the staff that he had to go find whoever had attacked his sister. Officers had been on standby, and once Kevin had calmed down, they pulled up chairs around his bed and listened intently as the entire terrifying encounter came tumbling out. He described the attacker to police as a tall man with dark hair and a mustache and a slight potbelly. He had looked to be around 5 feet 10 inches tall. He had been wearing a white t-shirt with a green parka over it, a stocking cap, and a pair of gloves. There had been 0 fingerprints lifted from the scene, but at the very least, police had a description. However, there would still be 2 more horrific murders before law enforcement would realize there was a connection.
Oh my God.
And
we're so sorry.
I mean,
we're gonna pause it there.
I really don't think there's... I'm glad Officer Fletcher was there and Kathy wasn't alone.
Yeah. And the way that we see so often in these stories where we want to tear our hair out at the absolute evil that people are capable of, we also get to see it contrasted by people like Kevin, who never stopped fighting for his sister.
Kathy?
Even Kathy never stopped fighting until she literally could not. And then that officer who he wasn't even, I don't even know if we specified this, but he wasn't even a homicide detective. He was just a like foot patrol officer.
Just a responding officer.
Yeah, did not hesitate to pull out his gun, kneel in the blood beside this woman in a horrific scene, and comfort her with one hand while being ready to kill someone with other, like, that's like
what we need in police officers.
That is what we need in police officers. And we have that in Officer Fletcher, and that's absolutely fucking incredible.
And Kathy not only fought for herself, but she fought for Kevin.
Oh my God.
Holy cow.
Like, there is no doubt that her fighting the way that she did allowed Dennis to be so disoriented and thrown off that she kept him alive because, you know, even if it just like tired him out.
Exactly.
Like, we can confidently say that she saved his life and that he fought with everything he had to save hers and was able to finally give a description to police. So even though there hasn't been a connection made yet between the Oteros and what happened with Kathy and Kevin, there's a trail that's being left, there's pieces being put together, and there's a profile that Dennis is building of himself, even if police haven't realized it yet. But they will eventually, and that's the important part. And that is why we are telling the story beginning to end, because we need to be able to understand these things to keep them from happening in the future. So, we hope you guys, I can't say enjoyed it. I hope you didn't enjoy it, but we hope that you found yourself compelled to listen. And if you are continuing to follow along and you want to hear the rest of this, make sure you are following us on Apple and Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. Click that follow button so that you see when our new episodes pop up. Give us those 5-star reviews wherever you're getting your podcasts. And we are on Instagram, TikTok as Camping is Canceled. And I know we don't mention it enough, but please, 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 if you have your own story that you want shared, a spooky encounter, a survival story, a
something
hometown,
that happened
yes, a hometown cold case or crazy story, legend, anything, please send us those to campingiscanceled@gmail.com. We've got a really, really great case suggestion for You Will Know Who You Are. You suggested the rose petal murder.
Yes.
We will be covering that after BTK. Thank you for that suggestion, and we'll make sure to give you a shout out. That was a great suggestion. We will be covering that. So
and we appreciate it.
We do. Yes, we
it's
love
fun.
those.
It's fun to get your guys' feedback.
Yes. We want to keep those coming. So
I mean, we're definitely not talking because we enjoy the sound of our voices. So
no, certainly not. All right, guys. Well, rest easy knowing that even though this particular retelling of the Dennis Rader story isn't done, Dennis is in prison, will never get out, and at least for him, we don't have to worry about him ever hurting anyone again.
So, with that,
we know the world's a shitty place,
but remember to have courage and be kind.
Of a bitch.
Bye.
Bye.